There's a free plugin for Claude Code that I've been quietly using for the past few weeks called Superpowers, and it has genuinely changed how I build things with AI. Instead of letting Claude just start coding, the second you ask it something, it makes it go through a proper 5-phase process. Clarify, design, plan, code, verify, and make it 9% cheaper runs, 14% fewer tokens, and across the board, better code quality on anything that wasn't trivially simple. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how it works, show you the visual companion feature that I think is genuinely a game changer, and show you how to install the whole thing in 5 seconds. But first, let me tell you what Superpowers is. So Superpowers is a free plugin for Claude Code. And honestly, for most AI coding tools at this point, it has 148,000 stars on GitHub, which makes it one of the most popular developer tools, period. What it does is it installs 14 skills into Claude Code that change how it approaches tasks. Instead of just diving into code immediately, it forces a structured workflow. Clarify first, ask questions before building, design, present a spec for approval, plan, break work into 2 to 5 minute tasks, code, execute with test-driven development, verify, check everything works before calling it done. Nate Herc just did a video showing benchmarks. He found about 9% cost savings with better code quality. But benchmarks are one thing. But now let's start with Visual Brainstorming Companion. The feature I think is the most underrated part of this. Here's what it does. When you give Claude any task that involves building something, a tool, a dashboard, an automation, a system, instead of just diving in and building whatever it imagines, it stops and says, let me show you what I'm thinking first. It opens a live preview in your browser with visual options, multiple directions it could go with pros and cons for each. And it waits for you to pick one before it does anything. This is huge because I don't know about you, but I've lost count of the number of times I've described something to an AI. It went off and built it. And what came back was technically fine, but not at all what I had in my head. That whole problem goes away with this because you're both looking at the same thing before any real work starts. And this isn't just for visual project. When I'm setting up automations or building workflows, it asks equally sharp questions about how I want things to work before it makes assumptions and runs with the wrong direction. The pattern is always the same. A few really good clarifying questions, then it shows you options, and only then does it move forward. Once you've agreed on the direction, Superpowers moves into planning. And this isn't just Claude writing a quick to-do list. It breaks the whole thing down into small chunks, each one about 2 to 5 minutes of work with enough detail that if anything goes wrong, you know exactly where it went wrong and why. It also saves that plan. So if you close Claude and come back the next day, it picks up exactly where it left off. That's genuinely useful on anything that takes more than one session. Then it starts working through it. A few things happen here that make a real difference. It works through the plan one step at a time and stops the moment something isn't clear instead of just guessing and plowing through. I've lost so much time to Claude making an assumption mid-task and just running with it for the next hour. This stops that completely. It also gets smarter about what can happen at the same time. If there are two things that don't depend on each other, it works on both simultaneously rather than waiting to finish one before starting the other. On a bigger build, that alone makes everything noticeably faster. But one more great thing is that it checks its own work. This is the part that I think actually explains why the output quality was noticeably better in the experiment. Superpowers has built-in quality checks that run before it ever hands anything back to you. Before it builds anything, it writes a check, basically a small test that should pass once the thing works. It runs that check, confirms it works, and only then does it call that part done, which means you're not getting back something that kinda works or works in one specific situation. You're getting back something that's been verified. When something does go wrong, and things always go wrong at some point, it doesn't just start throwing fixes at it. It investigates what actually broke and why, figures out the root cause, and then fixes that specifically. Clean fix, not a patch on top of a patch. And here's the part I find genuinely exciting. You can extend this whole system with your own custom checks. So if there's something specific to the way you work, a step you always want Claude to take before it touches anything, a review you always want it to run, a format you always want it to follow, you can build that in once and it becomes part of every session going forward. But now let's get into how to install it. 2 ways to install this. Method 1, the marketplace. Open Claude Code, type plugin in the chat and hit enter. That opens up the Claude Code plugin marketplace. From there, grab the GitHub link from the description, paste it into the marketplace search, and add it. Once it's added, go to your plugin section, find Superpowers in the list, and just enable it. Done. Method 2, even simpler. Copy the GitHub link from the description, paste it directly into Claude Code chat, and tell it, install this plugin and set everything up. Claude handles the whole thing for you automatically. No marketplace, no steps. Either way, once it's enabled, close Claude Code and reopen it. You'll see Superpowers initialize at the start of the new session. That's how you know it's running. For quick, simple requests, it mostly stays out of the way. It knows when you don't need the full process. But for anything where you're actually building or setting something up, it kicks in on its own. And if you want to make sure it's running at full capacity, just add this to the end of your prompt. Use any superpower skills that are relevant here. From that point on, every session is more structured, more thorough, and a lot more likely to get it right the first time without you having to do anything differently. But now let's talk about, is it worth it? Here's my honest take. For simple stuff, fixed bug, quick script, one-liner change, skip it. The overhead isn't worth it, and it knows that. But the moment you're building something with any real complexity and automation, a dashboard, a multi-step system, Superpowers is better every time. Not a little better, noticeably better. The quality is higher, it costs less to run, and it gets it right the first time more often. The thing I keep coming back to is this. Claude Code is already really good at building things. Superpowers doesn't make the model smarter. What it does is make the process more disciplined. And on anything non-trivial, a disciplined process beats raw intelligence every time. That's what the experiment showed. If you want to go deeper and learn how to build actual automations around this, check-in agents, pipeline monitors, things like that, check out my school community with a link in the description. You're going to get full support from me and my team members, plus loads of resources and automations. So click the link in the description. If this was useful, a like helps a lot. Drop a comment with what you're going to use it for first. See you on the next one.